Adam Day is only here because his father passed away. Today, I'm joined by Adam Day, a very well-known person in the estate and letting agency industry, head of EXP in the UK and also Europe. And he's here to talk to me about how his father passed away when he was a young child and how it was the motivator to drive him to where he is today. Adam, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Adam, you said before you switched the cameras on that your father passed away when you were a very small child. Tell me, how did losing your dad shape your worldview? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean it's a big question because obviously, well, so I lost my dad when I was one.
So
He
you
had
didn't actually, when you say meet him, you wouldn't have been aware of him.
no, I didn't know him at all, and so I was one. My brother was 10 days old, and he took his own life, unfortunately. So I never over the year. I'll go back to the over the years. Those first 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I didn't have a dad, so I didn't know that not having a dad was normal or unnormal or whatever you want to call it. Um, And I remember saying to my mum in the car when I was probably 8 or 9, where's dad? What happened to him? And she said he had a sore head and that was, he passed away, whatever. So, and then it was probably not till I was 15, 16, 14, 15. I think my mum told me what had actually happened. And I think she did exactly the right thing, protecting me from that and the reasons until she felt I was old enough to take it. Probably ironically, I wasn't old enough to take it because, probably between the ages of 16 and 20, I was on a bit of a slippery slope. Um, Probably not attributing to that, but it probably in hindsight was for that reason. Um, and then I met my old boss Dave, who Gallagher at Country Properties, and I remember he used to give me a dressing down quite regularly because I wasn't the most. I was a good salesperson. I was a good agent. I loved the job.
When did you become
Um,
an estate agent?
97, so I was 19.
Okay, did you fall into it like the rest of us
Yeah,
then?
yeah, fell into it like everybody did. Yeah, I was doing a data entry role. I'd been kicked out of my geography A level at school. I'd fumbled my way through GMVQ business studies, and then ended up with no job, a data entry job because my GMVQ was unclassified. My geography A level I'd been kicked out of. It was those sorts of things, and then ended up at Country Properties, now part of the Hunters Group. Wasn't back then. And Dave Gallagher and Paul Dewar, my two bosses. Dave was the future thinker, the wacky sort of quite intimidating person. Paul was super measured, very, very smart, just a brilliant salesperson, but relationship building, that kind of thing. So I learned off of two unbelievable guys. And I remember Dave used to give me a dressing down on a regular Saturday morning when I would turn up hungover or whatever it was.
Did you have any father-like figures growing up, like with grandfathers or
No,
mum's dad or something like that?
no, my grandfather, my dad's parents sort of disowned us back then when he passed away, and then my mum's dad lived in Edinburgh, so 400 miles away, whatever it was. So, couple of mum's friends or whatever, but no, not
So
really.
you didn't really have a father figure growing up.
No,
So
no.
were these two guys almost father figures, the first actually made you accountable, like a
Yeah,
good parent should?
yeah, I think they probably were. Yeah, I mean, you had my football manager when I was, an early teenager at 9, 10, 11, 12, and people like that, scout leaders, stuff like that. But really, on a day-to-day basis, that was the first time I'd really had any influence from a more mature male, if you like.
Did you kick back against that?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I kicked back against the world, but I had huge respect for Dave and admiration because he was the one that took me on. He was the one that coached me and trained me, and essentially was giving me a career and a future as I saw it.
Coming back to the original question, I asked you how your father passed away gave you that grit. What through the direction and leadership of these two guys was the fire? What was the fire in the belly that turned a dropout A-level student who just fell into a state agency into the man you are today?
I'd always been entrepreneurial. So when I was 13, 14, I was selling cans of Coke at school with a markup. I'd buy them in bulk and then sell them at school. So I had a little business washing cars, cutting lawns, that kind of thing.
Was it the money or the thrill of the chase?
I thought it was the money, but it was the thrill of the chase. I used to love building stuff and building, I used to love going out delivering leaflets for my lawn mowing business, and my walking the dog business and all that kind of car washing business. I used to love creating the name ABC proper ABC Services. Adam, Ben, and Chris, my brother Chris and my mate Ben, we did the thing together. So I used to love that side of it, but I loved the money. The money was kind of the product of
What
that
did you
part of
spend
my
it
life.
on?
Oh God, Match. Do you remember Match, the football magazine? Match and Mars bars, basically what I bought when I was 13, 14. So that gave me and my mum had always spent her time every time I go in the kitchen, she was writing a list of what we could afford to buy and what we couldn't. Because obviously my dad passed. I mean, my dad was really clever. He was an actuary at Chase Manhattan Bank, super smart guy. He'd got a legal degree. He was an accountant, so he was. I mean, he could just pick something up and just learn it. He was amazing. Apparently, I didn't get my brains from him, obviously, but my mum was left, you know, with a big mortgage and there was life insurance or whatever. But she was always adding stuff up. She was always counting the pennies because we couldn't afford it. And I'd always thought I don't want to be like that. Money's clearly important because it helps you to live. I know it's not the most important thing, but for me, having seen that, it felt that money was really important. And it was probably my early 20s that I started to realize that estate agency was a proper career that I could have and there'd be something that I could make of it. And I started realizing um, that life's short. I started reflecting on my dad passing and all the rest of it, and that life's short. And I started getting in a hurry. I started thinking, shit, I need to get shit done because my dad was 35, 36. Don't know how old he was when he died, but 35, 36 probably. And I was 23, 24, and I'm thinking, God, I might only have 10 years left. If I end up the same as my dad, I'm in a hurry. That
Did
was the
you
thing.
did you ever experience any grief?
Not that I recall, no, not particularly.
So you didn't have any grief, but you used the fact that your father passed away as a fire in your belly because you thought you only had.
Yeah, I felt that he hadn't made a mark on life or the world particularly. He hadn't left any sort of footnote of history or any sort of legacy. He died when he was 34, 35. So, again, that was only 10 years away from me. So those were my motivators. I didn't want to leave this
So
earth.
actually, it wasn't necessarily the grief that was motivating you. It's the fact is that you thought, because again, when you're younger, you don't think straight.
No.
Well, I might only be in here for another 10 years, so I've actually got to go and prove myself.
Yeah, it was just, I'm in a hurry. I've got to get stuff done quick. If I want to leave my mark on the world like my dad didn't, and I want to leave a mark on the world, which is not to take your own life. I don't want to leave that mark on the world. I want to leave a mark on the world
Okay.
which is more positive. And I don't know what he was going through, and I have huge sympathy for anyone that's going through that, but I don't know what he was going through. But it made me realize that life is short and I've got to get stuff done quick.
Okay, I mean your career is you did you just go through the normal corporate structure and then you went and set up your own online estate agency, didn't you?
Yeah, that was 2006. Yeah, yeah, and again, that was that. I mean, books played a part in that. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers, but also losing my dad again made me realise that what was I 28 when I started Hatch, so I was 3 or 4 years behind where my dad died, and so for me it was kind of like you've got to regret the things you don't do rather than the things
People
you do.
only regret the things they don't do. They have.
100%, and that was again that book helped me. So if there's any
What was
book,
the book again? You went a bit quick.
Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. That's the book that probably I would say nudged me into actually starting the business. And I've used that book countless times with prospective agents that are looking at going self-employed. But again, the history and the backstory of my dad not having a legacy and not leaving something behind and not, you know, making a mark on the world, I really wanted to try and make a mark on the world somewhere in some capacity.
Okay, once you'd sold up Hatched, you went around a bit and you ended up in a place where you weren't in a good place again, were you?
No, I know, but they were all experiences. They were all learnings.
Okay, but at the time, did it feel that way? I mean, in hindsight, we can look back so well. Shit happened there, mate.
No, no, it didn't feel like that at the time. No, I mean, I hated a lot of the roles that I did post sale of Hatched, and was, struggling to
Went
get
to work
way
with
out.
Russell, didn't you? If memory serves you well.
Went to at Russell 3 or 4 months. Yeah, yeah. I loved working for Russell. Actually, it was the traipse into London that I hated. I couldn't stand it. Absolutely hated it. And there was other elements of all the jobs that I did post Hatch that I hated, and stuff that I really was trying to get myself out. I remember phoning Josh Rayner during one of the call, Josh, get me out of here, kind of thing. I won't say which company it was, but it's like, what have I done? That's the biggest mistakes I've ever made. But and that was when I then decided to start up on my own again, and then EXP came along. But yeah, they're all learnings from looking back now.
Have you made contact with your father's family now?
Funnily enough, yeah, about 2 years ago, I contacted my dad's brother, Uncle Richard. So I got in touch with him. First time I'd seen him for 44 years. So he's up in just outside Edinburgh. He's a Falkirk fan. So I went up there and we went and watched Falkirk United against Edinburgh City. That was on the second meeting. We met up previously before. I went up there on my own just to meet him and his wife. So that was
Do you still have your grandparents?
no. They went back in the early noughties, but yeah, he's the only surviving member of the family that would speak to us. So we went up there, and yeah, it was an amazing few days.
Do you think any of the other have you did your dad have any other brothers and sisters?
One other brother who actually recently passed away, but yeah, yeah, we didn't see him or make contact with him.
But at least you have that connection back to your father through your
Yeah, it
mother.
was amazing. We drove around the area my dad grew up, and my uncle showed me where my dad broke his leg playing football, and I turned up, and he goes, "Oh my God, you look just like your dad." And so it was quite an emotional time. But yeah, he still WhatsApps me funny memes, and my uncle Richard, and I'll go and see him again later this year. So it's been actually quite cathartic going and seeing him, and a little bit of closure maybe.
A great story, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Thanks very much.